Good afternoon, everybody here and across the region. Welcome to this Alliance for Youth event, the second already here in Brussels at the European Parliament. Thank you very much for joining us here today. This is a very special moment for the Alliance, as it is exactly 3 years ago that Nestlé announced in Athens its youth employment commitments and its intention to launch this Alliance for Youth. And today, 3 years later, we're here to talk about what the Alliance has become. It has moved into a business-driven movement with more than 200 companies involved. And as you may have seen in the opening video, with new commitments for 2020. Now, we are kindly hosted here today at the European Parliament by MEPs Martina Dlabajová, Eva Paunova and Brando Benifei. And we also have the pleasure to welcome EU Commissioner Marianne Thyssen, who is sitting alongside Nestlé's Executive Vice President Luis Cantarell, Director General of the International Labour Organization, Guy Ryder, Cargill Executive Vice President Frank van Lierde, and Chris Chiari, who is the Executive Vice President of the EMEA region for Salesforce. We also have a number of MEPs, as well as CEOs and senior managers from all the European companies that support the Alliance for Youth, present here today, who will contribute to the debate. We also have a number of esteemed guests here present, so thank you very much for your support and your presence here today. And of course, we will also be learning or hearing the experiences of the apprentices and the students that are still in dual learning programs or have already finished them, and from their teachers and mentors. So thank you all very much for your presence here in Brussels and for your contribution. Now, we would also like to hear from you. What are your views? So you can tweet us on Nestlé EU or use the hashtag #AllForYouth. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be discussing the progress the Alliance for Youth companies have made with their dual learning schemes and their apprenticeship programs. And we're also going to examine if the vocational and educational training schemes are attractive enough to students. But first of all, we would love to hear the view of, if I may like to say it, a supporter of Alliance for Youth and a promoter of apprenticeships, EU Commissioner Marianne Thyssen. So, what exactly is on the European agenda to support this even more? And how can business and education collaborate even better together to achieve employment and skills across Europe for all our young people?
Thank you, moderator. And ladies and gentlemen, let me start by telling you that I'm very happy to be here with you today. I was here also last time. And that we share a common vision to create a bright future for our young people. The European Commission, this Commission is committed to developing Europe's human capital, because it is indeed striking that we have more than 4 million young people unemployed, and that we hear at the same time that 40% of the employers tell us that they don't find the people with the right skills. And this is why we need to close the gap between education and the world of work, and to make sure that young people have the best possible chances to fulfill their ambitions and to make successful transitions from school life to work life. Therefore, in June, what we did at the European Commission, in June we launched, among others, a new skills agenda for Europe, where we proposed 10 actions to tackle the skills challenges facing our economies and facing our societies. And this agenda gives a prominent role to work-based learning, to apprenticeships, and to business education partnerships. It aims to strengthen the attractiveness of vocational education and training, and to make a win-win situation of this for business and for young people. And together with the Youth Guarantee, the initiative that is already in place since 2014, and that we will continue, there, the skills agenda puts the focus on people, and this is very important, and puts the focus on young people. I'm happy that we can say that we work in partnership not only with the governments, with national governments, with regions, but also with businesses and with other stakeholders to create real good quality opportunities. Because when we can create the environment, we can create frameworks, but in the end, we also need the entrepreneurial side. We need also national governments to really make it possible that those opportunities we want, that young people really have the opportunities to get a foot on the jobs ladder. And it's not about words, it is about action. And the European Alliance for Apprenticeships is an important, a very important part of this. It continues to grow. I'm really happy. It continues to grow in size and in strength. And we now have 32 national commitments and 160 pledges from various stakeholders. And I can tell you, Madam Moderator, that Nestlé and the partners of Nestlé, Mr. Cantarell, they really are among the founding members of this alliance. And the commitments that you have made are really flagship examples and inspiration to many others. I'm really happy to learn that you are even over-delivering on your objectives, and I'm even more happy that you say, and we continue, because this is what we need. We can create legislation, we can create frameworks, we can try to stimulate, but if we don't find the entrepreneurs who work with us to really deliver on this and to offer places for apprenticeship, traineeships, and also, of course, job offers for young people, then we are nowhere. So working together on this is nice, is necessary, and I'm happy that we can continue on that basis.
Okay, thank you very much, Commissioner Thijssen, for setting the scene of this debate. Now, unquestionably, the people most concerned with dual learning and apprenticeships are the students, the apprentices themselves. And I would like to start with Maximilien Jourdain. He is an apprentice with Publicis Group in France. Hi, Maximilien.
Hi.
Why did you decide on doing this dual learning program?
First, I'd like to thank you for inviting me here. I decided to go on a dual experience program because I'm in informatics, in computer science, and it's important to apply what you do at school, at work, because it's not the same thing. You work with different kind of people, and I thought it was a good way to find out if it was really the job that fitted me. Which did, but not for the first experience. I was in a bank, which was not that good, and I knew that I could change to see other fields in computer science, which is now why I'm at Digitas LBI, where we have a more creative way of doing things, which is more the way I am, and that's really important to me, to discover things, to get in front of them, to experience them, to get sure where I want to go and what I need to for my professional career.
Okay, Maximilian, thank you very much. You're at the right spot, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will hear from more apprentices later on during this debate. So, as you could hear, Maximilian gained his experience in France. Now, let's go to another French employer, which is the Adecco Group. They have set up a scheme that's called l'École de l'Alternance. Gaël Salomon, you're the managing director of Adecco Training in France. Now, why was this program created, and what are the benefits?
Well, for years, we were facing a very strong situation with young people unable to find a job and companies unable to find competencies. Very strong situation. So in January 2016, we launched a concept called La Grande École de l'Alternance, as you said, in order to reduce the gap between education and business. And we committed to train and finance and to find a job for 10,000 young people. So basically, we designed a model where we try to make sure that there is a perfect alignment between the three pillars, which were not effectively connected so far: candidates, schools, and companies. In terms of results, going back to your questions, we have overachieved so far our 2016 target with, as today, 2,600 people onboarded. And we recently received a strong award in France, which is the Humania Prize, Humania Award from HR.
Okay, thank you, Gaël. There's also a French MEP present here today, Anne Sander, welcome. The youth unemployment rate in France is quite high, but luckily it's going down step by step. Now, do you believe that the education-business collaboration is part of the solution?
Yes, hello, and thank you for organizing this meeting. So, based on my own experience, I want really to encourage the development of the dual learning in France, but also across Europe. As mentioned earlier on, these programs ensure that our youngs are really equipped with the right skills. Providing opportunities to young people is, of course, crucial if we want to avoid lost generation. So I want really to congratulate Nestlé and the other members of the Alliance for their action on this issue, because it's really very important.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, Maximilien talked about his current experience as an apprentice. We've also invited people who finished their program, so former apprentices, and Florence Ribaud is one of them. Florence, as you left school, you became an apprentice, and you're now a recruiter as head of Happy E-Offer at ENGIE. Now, can you explain us how your experience as an apprentice helped you to find your way to the job market, and how it helps you now as a recruiter?
Yes, hello. Indeed, 20 years ago, I chose to follow apprenticeship for my business school studies. It was very innovative at that time for higher education. I stayed 2 years long in the same company, so I was given long-term responsibilities. I really had a junior job. I was paid. My business school studies were paid as well, which my parents were very happy about. And I got hired very easily. And now I am a head of Happy, which is a digital power offer by ENGIE. And ENGIE has a very strong policy about hiring apprentices. We want to have 5% of them in the group. There were 4,000 end of 2015. And not only we hire apprentices, but we also aim at hiring 50% of them on a permanent basis. And I am personally very proud of my company policy, especially because of my own experience. And now as I am a recruiter, and I hire apprentices and former apprentices. And I really think it's a win-win situation, because they are fully trained and they are ready to work.
Okay, thank you very much, Florence. Now, one thing that can really help for anyone at work, if you're only starting out or in the middle of your career, is having a mentor. Now, we have a mentor present here today, Clémentine Ducerf. You're working with Nespresso. Now, why did you become a mentor, and what exactly is your role composed of?
I became a mentor because I like to train the youngest and to help them to improve their talent. As an Nespresso boutique deputy manager, my main mission is the daily development of the customer advisors' competencies. And regarding to my role of mentor of apprentices, I focused on helping them to discover and develop their own strengths, and helping them to feel good in the company, because they are very young and sometimes it's their first job experience. It was great to see them growing up through the company. For instance, one of the apprentices at the beginning was very shy, and 2 years later she realized that she really liked this kind of program, and now she continues apprentice in order to be a deputy manager as well. So we are very proud of it.
Okay, it's good to hear that you take the best out of people and that you're satisfied with helping them doing so. We've heard so far about what happens on the work side of dual learning, but we also want to talk about the classroom side, and therefore I'm going to talk to a teacher, Jana Dubinova. You're a teacher in Slovakia, yes, specializing in the food industry, and you're involved in a program where you work together with Nestlé. Can you tell us more about that program, please?
Okay, so thank you for being here again, and I would like to tell you that it helps us to better adjust the content of our education for the future employers. So we as teachers, we are really sure that children get the right knowledge, and also it reinforces the role of our school in Slovak education system. Also kids, they know the future colleagues, and the most important is that they can find job immediately after they finish the school. So this is the most important, yes.
So I think we can say that an apprenticeship or dual learning scheme makes them work ready sooner, yes, than without it. Thank you very much, Jana.
Thank you.
So now let's turn to Juan Resines, who is sitting over there, if I'm not wrong. Yes, hi Juan. You're the Director General of Norgraft. It's a Spanish SME, a small and medium enterprise, small and medium-sized enterprise. Why is it relevant for an SME to work together with schools and universities?
Well, due to limited resources, for an SME, it's not easy to have their own learning program, dual learning program. So the join with Nestlé allows us to recruit young people and newcomers in the key areas of the business, in the core, like purchasing, logistics, production, or quality and insurance. So having Joe through this program allows us to bring to the company fresh talents and dynamism and very good opportunities to people to create a team.
Okay, thank you very much. I think it's also important to talk about the political approach in Spain with regards to dual learning, and therefore I'm talking to MEP Enrique Calvet. So can you tell us how the collaboration between business and education is working in Spain?
Not as good as we would like. And it's a pity because, of course, as you know, Spain is very wounded by a very high rates of unemployment, and every weapon to fight against this absolute cancer that is youth unemployment is needed. And particularly, of course, the education and training skills is of utmost importance for Spain getting out of this hell. And we'll do the most we can. But Spain is, as Mr. Resines say, is a country of even more than that, micro-enterprises. That's more difficult. So for that, it's very appreciable that some big companies like Nestlé I visited are making efforts of dual education and making real efforts on the grounds, and can serve as benchmarking as examples. And for that, what is also very good for Spain to enhance and make better all this dual education system that for the moment is not so good in the ground because also for cultural reasons. What we're appealing to at Europe too, and I finish with that to say. We are promoting, with the help of these companies and the help of Monsieur Artuis, a pilot project to create an Erasmus for vocational and training students, what we call in Spain formación profesional, because we think that mobility, exchange of expertise in companies and schools of other countries is essential to create more Europe with young people, but also to share better the difficulty of unemployment.
Okay, but there's still some work to do in Spain. That's the main message. Okay. Chris Yari is sitting next to you. You represent a big digital company, which is called Salesforce. Now, you have established a program that is called the Future Force Program. with a name like that, it has to be successful. Can you tell us more about it, please?
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Nestlé for having us. I think it's really interesting. We were talking earlier about being here last year, and we had 2 interns or Future Force Salesforce employees here who did dual learning. They went through, they then got full-time jobs, and I was very excited to hear that they've both also been promoted. So they're in their 3rd job in 18 months at Salesforce. And I think for us that says a couple of things, that these young people, 4.5 million unemployed, have digital native skills that we can use in our companies. And so we built this program to leverage that. We also have a dual approach. So we also have an apprentice program called Biz Academy, where we're taking 18, 19-year-olds who may not go on to university, and we're building them up as what we call Salesforce administrators, which is somebody that can technically and from a business aspect help our customers and our partners get better use of digital technologies. So we think it comes from both directions, but I think for us the most important thing is these are people that have skills that we all need, and certainly from the technology industry we think can make a big difference as digital natives. So we're excited to be part of the initiative. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chris, for your contribution. Now, to many businesses, it's important to be able to move their goods easily across the world. Now, CHEP is a company, an international company that is specializing in shipping. Now, Colin Trump, you're being part of an apprenticeship program in Germany, and that's a country with a long-standing tradition of dual learning and apprenticeships. Now, how do you feel about the way the programs are organized?
So actually, I'm very happy with the organization of dual learning schemes in Germany, because I think that educational institutions and also companies are trying to raise a collaboration which is even more clear. And I think I have a great example. CHEP takes part in a council which is organized by the University of Applied Science, where I'm actually studying. And in this council, both parties discuss the curriculum, and I think both parties also benefit from each other. And at another point, also the students benefit from such a collaboration.
Okay, thank you very much, Colin. And now it's time, ladies and gentlemen, to put our young people in the spotlight. Our youngsters, our apprentices, students, ex-students. This morning we had a presentation of 20 dual learning schemes out of the impressive 620 that have already been established over the past 2 years across Europe. Now, together with their teachers and their mentors, these young people give valuable feedback in order to learn from them, to improve the apprenticeship schemes and dual learning programs as they exist today for the apprentices of tomorrow. So I would like to invite all the students, all the apprentices, their teachers and their mentors to stand, and let's give them a huge round of applause.
I feel so alive. I've never felt this way before. It must be you and I. It's got me thinking about us more. It's these bright lights that put me in the days, and I can't stop but think about the way that you move around up and down on that stage. It's your future vibes. Bright lights, they put me in a trance, so I feel like I can do it all. It's a good life that I really want. It's those future vibes.
Martina Dlabajová, you're sitting over there. You're an MEP from the Czech Republic, and you're also the European Parliament's rapporteur for the EU New Skills Agenda. Now, how can the Alliance for Youth support the EU agenda?
Well, I would say by continuing what the Alliance is already doing. because you are doing a lot, and I think that you already contributed for what was the proposal from the Commission. And we will work on it together as well in the future. We all present here know that businesses are somehow struggling to tackle the disparity, the mismatch between staffing needs and qualified employees. Experts even suggest that this skills gap could impact economic and corporate growth for the next 15 years. So the situation for me is alarming. I think, therefore, we have a responsibility, both all three sides, politicians, education system, and businesses. We have responsibility to equip young people with adequate skills demanded by employers. And how? I think that the answer is implementation of dual learning schemes. Those we saw in this morning, and we had the possibility to talk to these young people. They had very good experience of them. We know that they are effective. We also know there are so many best practices in all Europe and successful examples. And we politicians, we should maybe listen a little bit more to the businesses and to their needs. Also myself, I made a visit recently to Nestlé factory in Holešov, which is just 20 kilometers from my house, last year. And I was amazed. I am really very proud of what Nestlé is doing for young people. And we need the systematic cooperation and contact of young people with businesses and employers already during their studies. And it doesn't matter if it's vocational, secondary, or university studies. It's really crucial today to have this connection. So let's share these examples, these best practices, get inspired from them, and try to implement them into educational systems and policies across all Europe. And I will do the same in my report, I hope, with, all, with the help of all of you. So companies are ultimately the one we should listen and who are training and hiring young people. So and I am proud to support the Alliance for Youth.
That's for sure. Okay, thank you very much, Martina. Now I have the honor to turn to the Director General of the International Labour Organization, Mr. Guy Ryder. Mr. Ryder, we've heard so far the views of the EU stakeholders. Now the ILO is part of the UN, so you have quite a wide remit, so to speak. What is your vision and what is the agenda according to you?
Thanks very much. Great to be here. Great to learn from the people I'm listening to. Let me just give 2 or 3 thoughts and then try to answer your question. The first, just words for you to try to keep in your mind. Scale. The scale of the issues we're dealing with. 71 million unemployed youth in the world, 40 million new people entering the labour force every year. Whilst I congratulate and do so very warmly Nestlé and all Alliance members for what you're doing, we have to think of the scale of the problems that we have ahead of us and how we tackle it at the truly global level. Now, it seems to me that the answer to that question lies in the partnership between public policy and private initiative. And I think that's, in a sense, the meaning of dual educational and dual training structures. It is clear that where that partnership of public and private works well, youth employment is low. Look at the countries where this works well, we see the results. Private initiative, therefore, needs to be embedded and firmly embedded in labour market institutions and policy making. I think it should not be that we should emphasise one to the exclusion of the other. Second point, preferences. All around the world, and there are people here who can answer this dilemma better than me, all around the world, despite the signals from labour markets that you are better off following a vocational educational path than an academic one, kids still want to go to universities and parents want to send their kids to universities. It's like the signals from labour markets are being pushed out. I think we have to look at that dilemma, and the way I think to overcome it is to make sure that that choice with which many people are confronted, 16 years old, vocational training, university training, does not become a once and forever parting of the ways. I think it's important that there are intertwining of these 2 routes, so that apprenticeships can lead to university. That's what Germany does, and does damn well, so that we make the right choices. And the last point I want to make is, as part of the UN, we've been instrumental in getting the United Nations as a whole to take on the challenge of global youth unemployment. I've given you the numbers. Last year we launched a global initiative on decent work for young people, and we actually did something which has never happened before in the United Nations. We got all 21 organizations, entities in the UN to commit to work together in a single endeavor. And we are also inviting, and I want to launch this invitation to the Alliance and to Nestle, we're inviting our private sector stakeholders to come and join us in that initiative. So I hope that perhaps from this meeting we can take that forward as well.
Well, I would like to immediately turn now to Luis Cantarell from Nestle. As we already seen in the opening video, the Alliance for Youth has some tough targets to achieve by 2020. What will Nestle and the Alliance for Youth do to promote dual learning, go ahead, move forward in the future?
Yeah, thank you. I think that an organization like today, the meeting that we have today, is part of promoting that. I think that success brings success. The fact that it was hard maybe more to launch the initiative 3 years ago. Today, I don't think there will be anything just than the success that we are having and the stories that you have heard and the impact that this initiative is having. We are very proud to be a humble contributor to create this initiative going forward. So I'm sure that, you know, when you talk in business about over-delivering, I think that being over-delivered against a commitment is something that is going to happen, because I cannot see a more, you know, a better initiative that is strange in the reality of today's world to really promote societies that don't care of the youngsters, that they not create jobs for them. There are societies that is going to get difficult for a stay longer. Instability can only be fought by giving people the possibility to have a future. And I think that's what here. And this is an alliance for youth. This is a movement. I think the most important thing and the biggest target we have today 200 companies. We are also part of the Pact for Youth. Let's make sure that we have maybe 400 companies. Let's push for convincing more and more people to really contribute to these initiatives and seeing how the future. We are all citizens of this world. We are all parents. We all have kids. We all have families. And we have seen, and I have seen my personal commitment, I have seen in reality, going to a factory and seeing how the atmosphere of having the youngsters people really being committed. I think you have said before to be myself, to understand maybe this is not the job that I like.
Yeah.
I have seen this with my kids. I have seen this with my family. I have seen it with my friends. That, I think, is something that is outstanding.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr.
Sorry.
Cantarell, because, yeah,
already
we have
shows,
limited timing.
Already shows my passion about that,
but
right?
we have someone present here today who went, I think it was yesterday or only a couple of days ago, who went to visit a Solvay plant, and that is Brando Benefei. He's an Italian MEP. So how was that experience? How did you experience it, that visit?
Well, by visiting Nestle and also yesterday Solvay offices and factories, I learned their dedication to training and giving real opportunities to young people starting a work experience, a work and learning experience in their place. So I would say their approach with apprentices and trainees was clearly to give them competences and skills that could be used also for jobs in other companies if they change their jobs. I think this is the core point of the Alliance for Youth. So while we strive, here we have Commissioner Thyssen, we strive together as European institutions to promote employability of young people, programs like the New Skills Agenda, the Youth Guarantee, new pilot projects for mobility. While we work on that, we need committed civil society, we need a business world that on its own initiative starts programs like this that can give a positive transformation of our work environment to make our economy competitive through high-quality, well-trained workforce, because the bad alternative would be to have a cheap labor downward spiral, and that's not the choice we have to take. So to sum up, from the experience I had in these visits, I would say that a good learning program, a good dual learning program, would need early recognition of the talents of young people starting an experience, a job market orientation, and apprenticeships that are designed with the young people for them, quality apprenticeships like I've seen in the participants of the program, with equal balance of job experience and learning of the skills, follow-up and placement assistance of change of direction. So I think with Alliance for Youth, we are absolutely in the right direction for achieving these objectives and making our job market better for young people.
Let's go now to a world leader in the field of chemistry, Solvay, and I would like to talk to Jean-Christophe Sibera, head of HR for Solvay in France. Sciences require a lot of precision and quality. Why is it so important to work together with schools and universities to find the right people?
Thank you for the invitation. Thank you, Brando, for visiting Solvay yesterday. Thank you, everybody. Why is it so important? Because we need to prepare the future. We are in a very complicated industry. Chemical industry is not very attractive, but at the same time, we need a very high level quality of skills. So to anticipate the needs, we need to recruit young people and to take time to prepare them, and the dual system is very good. Now we are moving to another step because we have practiced the dual system in several countries in Europe, France, Germany, Italy. But what we want to prepare now is the future needs. What are the future needs? Tomorrow we need employees, shift workers that will be more global, more open-minded. That's why we started this year apprenticeship in 2 countries. So the same young guy will be in a plant of Solvay in France and a plant of Solvay in Germany and in a school in France. And this is something we want to develop in Europe. I think it's called Erasmus Pro system. But really, we think it's really key to prepare the needs of tomorrow. We need to anticipate. Thank you.
Prepare the needs of tomorrow, indeed. Now, let's go and watch a video because Nielsen conducted a survey showing in facts and figures how the different schemes and programs and partnerships are working. So let's take a look at that video. Saw in this Nielsen video to the experience of an apprentice, and I would like to come to Katarina Jasovka. You're an apprentice with Nestlé in Slovakia. So would you recommend this dual learning scheme, and why exactly, if the answer is yes?
I'm happy that I can study in the apprenticeship scheme in Nestlé Slovakia. Learning by doing helps me to get the knowledge and skills in food industry. During our study, we learn theory, but we can see how it works in a real factory. I believe these apprenticeship programs will prepare me for work and I can get a job in my future. I can recommend this program to all young people in Slovakia.
Okay, it's good news to hear that. Now let's move to the Netherlands, where they are also involved into dual learning, and I would like to talk to Casper de Ronde, who's a teacher there. So, Casper, you're involved in a program that is called, a scheme that's called My Tech with Cargill. So, why is this program so valuable for you as a teacher?
First of all, I like to say I didn't imagine that Bradley sitting over there, walking in my classroom years ago, I will sit here with the director of Cargill. Nice to meet you. And I didn't see how much impact it will be when people like him walk in your room. You give him 4 years study on electronics, and we call that My Tech. And My Tech is a program with Cargill. And now we're sitting here. I think my answer is based on his own experience. He still continue to learn. And also, as a teacher, I'm still learning. And it's so nice to be here. Thank you.
Good for you that you're still learning, huh? Otherwise, why are you staying there? Now, actually, I would like to go to Frank van Lierde now, because the Executive Vice President is also sitting here. Your company, Cargill, has a long tradition of apprenticeship. Why?
Well, we do have a long history with respect to apprenticeship. I think the big difference now is that we're doing it much more in a framework together with other partners. And so the big advantage of that is that you can actually rotate people. They can have experiences that are much broader than just an experience with Cargill. And so Mrs. Thijssen has been talking about the imbalances in the marketplace between, on the one hand, millions of people that don't have a job. On the other hand, you have companies like ourselves and many of the partners that are represented here today who are actually seeking talent. And so it's very unfortunate that so far there has been this tremendous mismatch between supply and demand. And so we're very happy that we can facilitate matching these two. And I think it's actually, this is not just win-win. Somebody was talking about win-win. We think this is a triple win. There's actually 3 stakeholders here. There's, on the one hand, the students, the youth, and I think, like you were saying, you learn to get to know yourself, right? I mean, if you're in one of these roles in an industry, is completely different from being at school, and so you learn whether you will like it or not, which I think is tremendously important for your future career. There's also the school. Typically, schools cannot and should not keep up with all the new technologies, because that's impossible in terms of budgets, it's impossible in terms of people and so on. So they're between the private sector on the one hand and the schools on the other end. I think there can be a very interesting connection there to see what new processes and equipment and everything else can be applied. So we're also learning. So we're in the same camp there. And then thirdly, there's companies. Obviously, we are looking for talent, and so by hiring apprenticeships, it's interesting for us to get to know those people and to define whether we will offer them a permanent role. So from that perspective, I think 1 out of every 2 to every 3 that start with us in a dual career are being offered a full-time role. Now, the only thing I would hope is that this really becomes more mainstream than what it has been so far, because dual studying so far has been a bit of an afterthought, and so I would really like to see us going forward as this becoming mainstream.
Well, that is one of the reasons why we have this event, of course.
Yeah.
Now let's talk to a British representative of dual learning, because she moved from a school leaver program into a full-time job at the same company, at AXA. Satvir, can you tell us how that happened?
So when I left college, I didn't know what I wanted to study if I went to university, and I knew that wasn't the option for me. So whilst searching for a job, I came across the IT apprenticeship. I seen that you could earn a salary whilst working and gaining qualifications. And I think for me personally, it was a really good transition from college life to work life. And as I talked about before, so I've been in a 3-year apprenticeship scheme, and I moved off the scheme after 2 years quite early to become a business analyst. So I got an early promotion, so it has worked out really well for me.
Wonderful story. Good to hear that. Now, so far we heard from apprentices, students, teachers, mentors, politicians, and employers, but it's also important to have the view of the parents, of course. So we interviewed the parents of a Hungarian apprentice, and This is what they told us.
Szülőként mi a legfontosabb önök számára?
Hogy a szakmát megtanulja, minél jobban be tudjon illeszkedni egy munkahelyre.
Hogy biztosítsa saját magának a jövőjét már előre.
Mit látnak Attilán, hogyan fejlődött az itt töltött idő alatt?
Nagyon sokat fejlődött.
Sokat. Nagyobb felelősségérzete van.
És mivel a többet a Nestlénél töltött gyakorlat, attól, mint hogyha mindezt az iskolában tölteni Attila?
Hát egy az, hogy hát szerintem érettebb emberek között van, szóval, és ez már
tapasztaltam emberek közt, akik már több éve sajátítják ezt a szakmát.
Hogy érzik, ez a szakmai gyakorlat, amit a Nestlénél tölt Attila, a későbbiekben mennyire fogja segíteni az elhelyezkedését?
Szerintem nagyon.
Sokat.
Sokat fog számítani?
Sokat.
We have one of our long-time supporters with us here today, MEP Eva Punova. Now, just before the video, Sadhve was very attracted by the IT skills training that she received at AXA. We also heard the parents of this Hungarian apprentice who were very positive about what their son gained from the dual learning scheme. But not everybody is so positive about it, so there's still some work to do. So how can we make vocational and educational training more attractive to young people, Eva?
Good news is there's always more work to do, and there's always willingness of people, such as the ones of us here today, to take on board and promote the understanding of vocational and professional training, that this is actually the sort of training and education that can actually create the skills and capabilities that we so need. Currently in Europe, there's 50% of students that are undergoing such trainings, but the problem is that only 1/3 of them are part of the work-based learning. So we do need to still promote and join forces in order to be able to put an emphasis on vocational and educational training, on creating the necessary skills for success, but as well as empowering other young people of being part of those trainings. I think that in the long run, we would only flourish as a continent and as a whole by really the relentless development of our creative and entrepreneurial people, by our human resources. So if currently, I like to say that we even witness a global war of talent, because 40% of the CEOs are unable to find the skilled workforce. We need to unite, but we have to put an emphasis on skills, on the right skills for success. And indeed, we cannot just pass by the digital revolution. It has to be brought within the educational system, the training systems that we are currently working on. The new generation needs to use those new developments. Yes, there is no rule that dictates and says that everyone needs to be literate in coding or so on, but it would definitely help to have a grasp on digital technologies and these skills. Thank you.
Okay, so let's immediately turn to another employer, which is Stefano Rossi. You're the CEO of the packaging division at DS Smith. Now, why is it so important to attract motivated young people, young talent in general, and for your business, the packaging business?
Thank you. Thank you, first of all, for organizing this great event, to give the opportunity to us as a company to express our commitment to the program in the open. And this is a great opportunity. So it's a great ethical initiative, so it's easy to find a good reason. But I will try really to summarize with the three main important reasons that are very valuable for us at DS Smith. The first one, it has to do with our mission as managers. Should never forget that as managers, we are not owning our companies. We are custodian of a business opportunities for the future. In this respect, it's not only essential for us in our business mission as a manager to bring young talent in the company, but is essential for the business as well. That's quite important. The second reason, it has to do with creating the right environment for the company to perform better. it's quite important to put together the experience that we have in the company together with the motivation, the enthusiasm that the young people bring to the table. And those two makes a perfect cocktail in order to enhance the performance of the company. But there is another important reason, which is very practical, and you might recognize. It's the mission of the company in itself. Our company, we provide packaging solution, exists because there are consumer needs. And the consumer needs generate the customer application of our brand owners like Nestlé. To this, we applied our packaging solution, but the consumer needs are evolving continuously, day after day. If we do not recognize this, if we are not humble enough as a company to recognize that we need the fresh blood, we need the young people to bring the new ideas, we will fail to meet the new consumer needs. And this is essentially the three main reasons why in DS Smith we strongly believe in this company and we are very committed to support the program. Thank you.
And I believe it. Now let's turn to Frank Bogovic. He's an MEP from Slovenia. Now based on the experience in your country, what should be done to make dual learning and apprenticeship and vocational training an equal choice?
First of all, thanks for this opportunity. I'm old enough that I remember our Slovenian dual learning system from the end of 80s. And then in Slovenia we decided to destroy this system, and today we have the same problem what we heard enough. Over-educated sometimes people, but without skills which are necessary for today. So we follow this, and what I think is very important is this what we do now, to promote this system and to show to people good stories. We heard today 20 stories, and beside this is a lot of good practices. And I think that power of this story is the most important. That this is not a second chance, this is the start of your career. And I think this message is very important, and Nestlé decided to make this alliance for youth. And I decided also to make an alliance in my country. And today, here with me in Parliament are people from high school, people from Chamber of SMEs, Chamber of Economy, people from local authorities, also media cover this event. And we will promote this also in Slovenia, because I really believe this is our future, and we must continue with this. And congratulations of all of you who are here, as those people who organize this or those who participate in this program. And we're very proud that DS Smith is a successful company also in Slovenia. They are 10 kilometers far away from my home, and I'm sure that we will collaborate in future together.
Okay, thank you very much. I think we heard some very interesting testimonies, not alone from students, apprentices, teachers, employers, also from politicians. So we've almost come to the end of this debate, and I would like to turn to EU Commissioner Marianne Thyssen once again. After everything that's been said, what would you like to add as a kind of conclusion?
Well, I think that we saw many good examples today, and they demonstrate once more the added value, the great added value of apprenticeships and bridging the world of education and the world of work. And I think it was correctly said by the Vice President of Cargill. It is indeed, it is not just a win-win situation, it is a triple win possibility, because apprentices, they can discover the world of work and, as was said by one of the apprentices, also their own talents and their own potential. For companies, it is possible to find the right people they want, to educate them themselves, to bring skills to young people that they need in the company, in theirs or in another company later on. And for the education system, it helps also because it makes it possible to connect with the real world of work and to have all the modern technology available to really give a good vocational and educational training to the young people. And I think I might add a fourth win, I think, for the whole society. Because, as was said by Guy Ryder and others, we have so many young people unemployed worldwide, but also in the European Union. Still more than 4 million young people in the European Union are looking for a job. having them a job, having a job or not for them is really a big difference of participating in society, of not having a future or not. And for society, it is about having an inclusive society or creating problems for the future. So I think this is really only good. Of course, we have to look that there is a quality framework for apprenticeship. We know that social partners are working on that so that more enterprises can participate and discover a framework, because not every enterprise can discover it and invent it themselves. As we see that now was done by many big enterprises. I think the, how can I say, the networks, and more than this, as the Alliance for Youth, the Pact for Youth, are really good examples, because what I said to my services in the beginning of my mandate, and when we were talking about what are we going to do in about apprenticeship, and I am a believer in that from the beginning on, I said we are not going to develop new recommendations or new I don't know what. What we need is we have to link up with the world of work, with the entrepreneurs. And what we see with these networks, with inspiring people as Mr. Cantarell and others who were witnessing here, this helps us. Entrepreneurs can influence entrepreneurs. They can show how it works. They can show that it is really a win-win-win situation. And I think by supporting that, we can do the best for the entrepreneurship, for the economic side of our society, but also for the young people, to make it possible that they have the right skills, that they discover their own talents, and that they can set up a step to the labor market. That's also why we, because we are really believers at Commission, that we continue with supporting this. And it was already mentioned by two of the people that spoke here in this exchange of views. We are continuing with supporting this, and we will use more money than we do now under Erasmus+. Probably we will call it Erasmus Pro. We still have to make sure that this will be the future name. But we will use money from Erasmus+ to make it possible that there are better quality, that there is better quality mobility among apprentices. That also apprentices can have their Erasmus, let me say, and not only what we see now for 2-3 weeks. It is like a trip to another member state to have a quick look and see how it's going there, but it's not really part of the apprenticeship. We want to offer them possibilities to have longer mobility projects, so that there is really exchange between different member states. But thank you all. We can have nice ideas as politicians, but alone we cannot realize this. We need all of you, trade unions, employers, the social partners, institutions, members of parliament, but of course also the entrepreneurs. And that's why I am so thankful to those entrepreneurs who really are investing in people. Investing in people is what we have to do if we want a bright future for every one of us. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very clear message. Thank you very much, EU Commissioner Thijssen. Time's up, ladies and gentlemen. I think this was a very fruitful meeting. We're already looking forward to the next edition of the Alliance for Youth, because we want to prove what has changed, what has moved forward in that year to come. So thank you very much for joining us here today. Thanks for your contributions. I wish all the young people among us good luck within your future careers. And you keep tweeting us at Nestlé EU, because we want to hear your opinion. Thank you very much, and goodbye.